Brian Cloonan, good morning. How are we?
Good, Will. How are you?
I'm in great form. Cloughan is a wonderfully welcoming part of the Midlands, very busy. And we are here just looking out at all of the cars passing on a road that I remember 10 years ago, there was traffic on it, but it has become a big hub, I think, for lots of heavy goods vehicles to pass on, a lot of north-south traffic making its way through here. And you can see how some of the local businesses have really latched onto it and they're thriving, which is
great. That's fantastic.
Anyway, this is not so much the serious part of the programme. This is when we hopefully help out with a few DIY questions and no doubt meander on quite a few tangents.
This is a very serious part of the programme that I take very seriously. Excuse me.
That makes one of us. So Niall is first out and he says, getting ready for electric picnic this year and I've left it all to the last minute. We have a 4-man tent that the box said was waterproof, but the last time we used it, there was heavy rain and water did get in. Now, I've heard all sorts of theories about how to seal it. Does Brian have any ideas?
Right, so kind of two options. One is you can get, there's some very good spray-on tent sealers, basically. There's spray-on and brush-on, whatever you want. Fab Seal, I think it is one of the best-known ones. But there's loads of different brands out there. And you would assemble the tent, spray it. So spray, obviously, the roof really is obviously the crucial bit. Now, the other thing you just ask is there a fly sheet with it? So most better tents have a fly sheet. And the fly sheet is a separate, so you have the tent, and then you've basically another sheet on top of that. And there's about a 50 mil or 2-inch gap between the roof of the tent and the fly sheet. So if you imagine you can make your own fly sheet if it's a very typical straightforward tent with an apex roof. In other words, 2 sides, flat sides, and then what you would do is you'd make your own fly sheet if there's not one on it. Just get a tarpaulin. You'll buy a tarpaulin in every hardware shop, motor factors, agri shop. They all have them. So just measure up what you'd need. And the idea is the tarpaulin, like the fly sheet, has to be not sitting directly on the tent. It has to be slightly up above it. So you have to concoct a thing that allows the fly sheet, usually just putting cable ties onto the poles that are there. But if you got a tarpaulin, if you get a fly sheet and put it, if there isn't one on it, put it over the tent, it will really make it waterproof, because if it was touching it, it tends to allow a degree of condensation in. If it's not touching it, it really will work very, very well. But obviously, if the tent is not your traditional 2 flat sides, if it's an unusual shape, it's much more difficult then to make the fly sheet sit in place, particularly if it's windy. So like all these things, fixing the tent pegs down is really important. Get plenty of tent pegs. Always put them in opposite directions. So you put them in the opposite direction to the way the wind is likely to be dragging it. So you'd hammer them in towards the tent at an angle down towards the tent, but you might put the next one down in the opposite direction and so on. And if you have plenty of pegs and they cost very little, put 2 pegs down on every rope and one in 2 different directions, and that really makes it so much stronger. Or else, as I say, just spray the roof of the tent with Fab Seal or something like it, and it definitely has an incredibly good. It's completely clear, you won't even know it's done, but it definitely makes it so much more waterproof.
Quite a few experienced picnickers have texted to say that it is often a case of a tent not assembled properly when water gets in.
Yes, okay, yeah, that the water is pooling on it and okay, that maybe not taut enough or whatever. Yeah, okay, fair point.
I did ask the burning question earlier about how long you have to live somewhere before you're no longer considered a blow-in. And Marie says she's been 58 years in Mount Mellick and she's still a blow-in. No hope for me in Clonbelow.
Definitely no hope. Well, they don't want you there anyway. They never wanted you there.
Well done, Cloonan. Full marks. Okay. Next question is from Brenda. who says her husband painted the door, the architrave and the skirting boards. And he actually did a fantastic job.
Great. I hear a but coming though.
Pleasure, at having to say that. Anyway, there is a but. The paint looks lovely and I'm delighted, but I'm not so thrilled about the paint drops on the floor tiles below. I don't want to ruin my tiles taking this off. What would be gentle enough to preserve the tiles but get rid of the paint?
Well, assuming they're ceramic tiles are remarkably tough. So we don't know now whether it's water-based or oil-based. Because nowadays, so years ago, if you painted, doors, timber, architrave and doors and skirting board, you'd always have been using an oil-based paint. Nowadays, half the time it would be water-based. And how you'll know the difference is if you pick up a tin and there's almost no smell from it and it dries really quickly, then it's water-based. Now, obviously, the back of the tin will also say wash out your brushes with warm soapy water as opposed to white spirits. But you'll know from the smell straight away. The oil-based one will smell quite strongly. The smell will hang around a lot longer. And so 9 times out of 10, if someone came in to me and said, I want to paint the timber in my kitchen, I don't mean the kitchen units, but the architrave and the doors and so on, I'd say go water-based, because then you don't have that heavy smell hanging around for quite some time. Not quite as tough as an oil-based paint, so that's why if you were painting, kitchen units that get a lot of use, then you'd probably go an oil-based finish on that, because it is that little bit tougher. So what to do? I'd say, look, go to your local motor factors or hardware shop or paint shop and get a small tin of cellulose thinners and get a nylon scarring pad. Wear gloves. It's not. If it gets into a cut, oh my God, you'll know all about it. And it absolutely stinks. So it's a really strong smell. But the beauty is it'll take off either of the paints really, really quickly. So what you'll be doing is open every window and door. Don't have any naked flame around, because like a lot of these things, it's a low flash point. But you'll need very little of it. So rather, you can pour it on the tile, or you can pour it on the ceramic nylon, on the nylon pad, and then just rub, and then have a rag, an old t-shirt, something cotton, just to wipe it off as you go. So rub, wipe. You'll do it quite quickly, and apart from the smell, which will disappear quite quickly, because it's not like the paint itself, because it's cellulose, it evaporates away so quickly, and by leaving all the windows and doors open, the smell will be gone by the end of the day, no problem whatsoever. So cellulose thinners, but very strong smell and a very low flash point, so no naked flame. Don't be having the cigarette hanging out of the corner of your mouth when you're doing the job. A little bit of common sense, which, as we know, isn't that common in your house.
Well, it's really a misnomer. Breege is in Stradbally and says she left her hairdryer in the sun, and now the handle part has become very sticky. It's hard rubber, but it's hard to use now. So what could she put on it to remove this stickiness? It's a rather expensive hairdryer.
Right. Well, that's why I never leave my hairdryer in the sun, Will. Ever.
No.
Ever.
No, I believe you're probably
I'm
the
very
least
careful.
qualified person to answer this question.
I'm very careful with my hairdryer. I think if you wipe it with alcohol, it'll probably do it. So wipe it down with methylated spirits, a white alcohol, so gin or vodka, and I think you'll probably find it'll do it. You could also find, by putting it in the fridge for a couple of hours, in a bag in the fridge where it doesn't get any moisture, it might be enough to do it. But I think just wipe it down with the alcohol and I think it'll be fine.
Ina pitches in, she says, if you're not born and reared in an area, then you will always be a blow-in.
Yeah.
Well, technically, many of us are born in, let's say, Hollow Street in Dublin and then come home. So, come on.
Yeah, but it depends how much of an effort you make to fit in as well. Like if you're someone that doesn't participate in the community and do volunteer work and so on, I'm not specifically pointing at you, just the type. It's harder to fit in.
Joe says, when the tent is erected and tight, don't touch the top or the sides with your hands, as this will cause a drop. I suppose it's when the inner layer and the outer layer meet is what he means there.
When you're inside the tent. Yeah, exactly. So by pushing up against it from the inside, sometimes people would shove, like if they have camping chairs, and they might shove them over to the edge, out of the way to keep them in the tent. But then the problem is, if that chair is exactly as he says, if he's shoving the roof of the tent against the fly sheet and they meet. So we were saying it's really important to have a gap between the fly sheet and the tent. But if you push up the material that it meets, that'll cause a leak. He's spot on. Well done.
Right. A listener says they have a crack in their window and they are concerned it's going to spread. Is there anything that will prevent it happening? It's hard to tell now. Are we looking at, double glaze, which layer it's on?
Well, you'll always know which layer it's on if you get your fingernail and run it across the crack from the inside or the outside. You'll feel it. You'll definitely feel it. And even if not your fingernail, if you're like you and have your fingernails chewed to the quick, then just get something sharp like you don't want to scratch it now. Do you know what? Your credit card. Use a credit card. The corner of the credit card would be enough that you'd feel the crack when you come across it, but it won't scratch it in any way. And then what you do is get some clear epoxy glue. So any 2-pack glue. There's loads of different brands out there, but make sure and get a clear one. And it's a 2-pack glue. You mix it. In this case, because you don't want it running down the window, you kind of want it staying as a little fine blob at the end of the crack. So you do it both ends of the crack to stop it getting any worse. And you keep mixing and mixing, so it'll become firm in a couple of minutes. And as soon as you feel it beginning to set, then apply it to the glass, and it'll stay then as a blob, which is what you want, as opposed to running down the window away from the crack, which is not what you want.
Asking for a friend, this one. When your 11-year-old is being cheeky because he wants to stay on the Xbox all day because it's his last day before school, should you turn it off remotely?
No, just let him. It's his last day. Don't be such a Grinch.
It's already switched off. I just hit the
You
button
are
there.
such a Grinch. You're so mean.
11:45, more from Brian after these. Still to talk about today, 80,000 people and some major music names. We take you behind the scenes for a sneak peek of Electric Picnic 2026. And also, in one Midlands village, intimidation, vandalism, claims of open drug dealing, and residents say they've had enough. But what needs to change? Brian Cloonan is with us from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore. Hilda says the Grinch is a good guy. His actions make you remember to be happy with what you have. So there.
Hey, yeah, you make a very good Grinch, except you don't make anyone happy. It's kind of thing, yeah.
Well,
Anyway, come here. Listen, Liam just
smoke.
came into studio. You ignored the question completely, and he said nothing new in that. Mary was on. She has a problem with windows. She has a little key that does all the windows in the house, and the key is twisted or cracked. So she's just wondering about getting a new key. But yeah, look, they tend to be a fairly standard key. So most locksmiths will have a bunch of window keys. Like a lot of them are pre-cut, and if you bring in the key, they'll 9 times out of 10. Now, what I would say, if it's not a big deal, and it's genuinely not, all these PVC window handles, they're all standard. So there's just 2 screws keep them in place. So one at the top, and then one is revealed when you open. When you twist the handle up, you'll see the one at the bottom, and you can just unscrew that. And then the one at the top usually is hidden by a little bit of plastic or a little bit of rubber that just pops off. So if you were to bring in the window handle along with the key, if they don't have a key in stock, just a ready-made key to hand out to you, well then once they have the window handle there, they'll be able to cut a key from your damaged or broken key that will do and by bringing in the handle, they can test it in the handle you have, and then if it works in that handle, it will obviously work in all the rest. And if ever you have a damaged window handle like that, they're very, very easy. As I say, flick it up, look at this, we'll find the screw at the bottom, clearly you'll see it, and the one above, generally just for aesthetics, for appearance, has a little black or white plastic or gold, depending on the colour. It has a little cover to hide the screw. But they're all freely available in every shop that'll sell ironmongery or window or door fittings.
Sorry, you mentioned the name of a staff member who came in, said I had ignored a message, and I just wanted to put their name on the P45. Who was it again?
I forget who it was. I've totally forgotten now.
That's okay, there are cameras. Olivia is in Dangan and she says, recently I had a painter in to do some work around the house and I'm really happy with how it all turned out in the end.
Great. In the end.
What word comes next, Brian?
There's definitely a but. There's always a but.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's one part that has annoyed me. At the back door, on the frame, there's a glue or a sticky residue from the tape that he used, and I just hate seeing it.
Oh, yeah.
I want it gone without damaging the new paint.
Okay. So I suppose taking one step back, we often point out to people that masking tape is only designed to be left on for a maximum of 8 hours. And to be honest with you, in that heat, in the extreme heat we had, now technically you shouldn't be, probably won't be an issue again this year, but you shouldn't be painting above 25 degrees or when the temperature is likely to be getting above 25 degrees in the next 3 hours after painting. So there is if you're going to be using masking tape, try and get one of the blue 14-day masking tapes. Nowadays, they used to be much more expensive than ordinary masking tape, and now they're more or less the same price. So they're always blue. Don't know why. I think Blue Dolphin was the first brand out there, and then everybody just made their 14-day tape blue, and that definitely has it's a very good tape, but it will stay without leaving a residue behind much longer than ordinary masking tape. So in this case, what you'll try is just a t-shirt and some alcohol and see if that does it. And if it doesn't do it, alcohol again being surgical spirits, methylated spirits, most hand sanitizer alcohol, clear ones, once they're not a gel, should be fine, or gin or vodka. And if that doesn't do it, use the thing called sticky stuff remover. And sticky stuff remover is a gel, and the reason it works so well is it's a gel, so it stays in place. Obviously when you use alcohol, it evaporates away almost immediately. So the beauty of the gel is you spray it on, you can now leave it for half an hour and the glue becomes really soft, and then you just wipe it off. And both of those should not have any effect on the painted surface, but always just do a test area first. And if there's going to be a reaction, the darker the colour, the more likely a reaction. So if it's painted white or cream or magnolia or whatever, you definitely should be fine. The most delicate paint of all is red, and then you're on to the blacks and so on. So just if it's a dark colour, do a test area. It doesn't have to be where the glue is. You're just putting it on and leaving it on for the few minutes on a little corner that people won't see it, maybe at the edge of the architrave or whatever, that you're just testing it to see, is the paint going to have any reaction to the chemical? And then if it doesn't, you know what to do where it is a problem.
Benji is in Athlone.
Benji
It says, from the home house, we've been given an old water pump. And as far as I know, it belonged to my great-granny's farm.
Oh, wow.
It's a big, heavy cast iron thing and was painted black at some time in the past, but now is all rusty and it's shook-looking. I want to do it up and paint it. So what's the best way? I'm thinking paint it up something of a crazy colour, but that might be a bit inappropriate for Granny's old pump.
No.
That depends what you're matching it in with.
Yeah, and look, if you painted black...
By the way, Brian, you may say there are two ladies here in Cloughan looking very happy. You may say hello, ladies.
Hello, ladies. How are you?
Oh, you've just scared them. They've gone running.
I get that a lot, funny enough. So, yeah, look, there's no problem painting it. I would say, if it's... Well, first of all, you should always put some sort of a little... a plaque or a note, anything you have that goes back a generation or 2 generations, just put a note on it somewhere that, on something that won't, get washed away in rain. Because sometimes, people don't realise that that's such an important piece of history in your family. And sometimes it can be overlooked and forgotten by the next generation. And it really is important. And there's no problem in painting it a bright green. Like a lot of that stuff would have been painted bright colours because you want it to be noticed. When someone looks at it in the garden, if it's black, it blends in. If it's a really bright colour, people say, oh, look at the old pump. Oh, yeah, that belonged to my great-great-granny. And do the maths and work out that belonged to my great-great-granny. She had it 120 years or, 80 years or whatever it is.
She had it 120 years.
Well, she had
lived to a great age, didn't she?
She had it 120 years ago. because it's rusty, what I would do is there's some really good, and they make life so much easier, some really good rust neutralizer, rust removers. And they really, back in the storm, we had cast iron guttering that was destroyed, and it took me a long time to get a replacement for it. And when we got it, like it looks like it's fit for the scrap. It was the scrapyard we bought it from, but it was so rusty. So it just brushed on the rust neutralizer, and it completely neutralized the worst rust. And normally, what you'd be doing to get all that rust off, you'd be out with an angle grinder and a wire brush and a lot of time and a lot of dust and a lot of dirt and mess. And now all I had to do was brush this on, leave it overnight, and then wash it off with water. And then either spray, you don't have to use a primer, but it will benefit from it. So buy a little tin of rust primer, spray. Spray is always easier with something like that, with a pump, where it's all different, different angles and different edges. And just spray on the primer. And then you can paint it with any colour paint that you want. The primer will normally be either grey or kind of a rusty brown colour. The grey means it has zinc in it, which to my view makes it slightly better. There's loads of different brands out there. And then just paint it whatever colour you want. And again, you can get a spray or you can get a brush on, whatever you're most comfortable with. But a spray will definitely be that little bit easier to use for all those awkward bits.
Well, this awkward bit is out of here. So, Brian, we'll chat to you again next Wednesday, 10:20.
Thanks,
and
Will.
Our programme continues from Cloonan in County Offaly after the news at 11.